Okay, we're on. All right, welcome everyone. So, hi Christine, good to see you. We'll wait for some folks to log on. So today I have book giveaways. All right, welcome everyone. Hold on, let me. So, hi Christine. Mute myself. Wait for some folks to log on. So today I have book giveaways. All right, welcome everyone. So, hi Christine. Mute myself. Wait for some. Okay. So today I'm giving away 3 books and a distant consultation. So along the way here, I'm going to give away or give you the criteria for winning. All right. So, but first of all, thank you for those who are watching, whether it's live or on the recording. I'll do a little camera switch here. So this has been a 2-year in process. It was probably exactly 2 years ago when I started this book. And this one has been quite a journey for me. I just posted a post on Facebook that some of you may or may not have seen about where this book began. It began in a hotel room in Palm Springs. And I was woken up in the middle of the night by a pretty major earthquake. It was a 5.3, and it really shook me. And so I kind of had swirling around this idea for this book. I was still following the grieving period with my mom, and seeing all the stuff that was left from her, and really understanding our tangible world in a different way, and our stuff and our possessions, and seeing them under a new lens. And so that began the impetus for this book. But then I began outlining it in this hotel room, and I have a picture of it on my public Facebook page, or my personal Facebook page. And that was where it all began, and I wrote it in 2016, and now here it is. So today is February 8th. It is born on the same day as the Olympics began. I'll take that as a good sign. Maybe I will have my personal astrologer tell me the astrology for the book for today. So the first giveaway is whoever comments about one of the hardest things they've had to let go of. What item was keeping you stuck? So for whoever makes a comment about what item has really kept them stuck, and whether you're still holding on to it or not is irrelevant, but just if you could share with us what that is for you, I would love to hear it, and you will win a book for the first person who shares that, okay? In the meantime, I will share with you some more of the reasons I wrote this book, and the story behind it. I started working with homes and spaces in 2006, and my first book was published in 2010, and a lot of that book was about clutter. And I kept trying to avoid the topic. I wanted to talk about more, kind of what I deemed as more interesting, of your wealth corner and your love corner, and Fung Shui nuances and all that. But the clutter kept coming around, and as I worked more and more with clients, I began to see that was where the most transformation was taking place in people's lives, and just how powerful this work really is. And so I wanted to really delve into this topic on a deeper level than really any other book has gone, and really delve into the psychological reasons, which is the emotional reasons why we hold on to the stuff we hold on to. And I began this inquiry. I was actually a podcast, being interviewed on a podcast, and the interviewer talked about her toddler, how when they would go to stores, the kid just wanted to put stuff into the basket, and I began to understand that this desire for possessions starts really young, and to really understand the psychological component of why we even why we hold on to stuff. And it begins around age 2 when we go through an individuation of realizing that things are separate from us. And when things are separate from us, that's when ownership begins. And not just ownership, but identity. We begin to identify ourselves through the possessions that we own. And so for a child, it might be a doll or a truck. But we never really outgrow this. As adults, it's our phone, it's a shirt, it's a car, we identify with our stuff. And so that's where the letting go is difficult, because it feels like we're giving away a part of ourselves, a part of our identity. And so I posted a meme recently about, as you evolve, your stuff should too. And that's where we get stuck, is we are having a hard time letting go of these old identities that served us at one point, but it's always hard to still let that go, even if they're not part of our present, because we kind of get hooked on some of these. For example, and it usually goes even a step deeper than you might think. For example, if it's a past relationship, it might not even be about that person, but more about the identity you had while you were in that relationship. For example, maybe it gave you a certain lifestyle that you really enjoyed that identity around. And so you might be way over the person, but you're still hanging on to the identity of being married or being in a community of whatever community you were with your during that marriage. And the same is true with jobs and careers. We may have moved on from a past job or even an entire career, and yet there's identity still hanging around that of a past identity that served you. And I talk about in my book, my experience with letting go my practice of law, and how it wasn't just my identity around being an attorney. It was my identity around being responsible, financially, sound, accepted from my family, and being an attorney in the community, as opposed to some, holistic practitioner that I was moving into. And so there was those identities that were hard for me to let go. It wasn't about I'd let go practicing law, but it was identity around practicing law. So there's always a step below what we think it is. And so I'll go through my book in a few minutes and talk about the different chapters. But relationships and jobs seem to be where we usually have our identity most attached to. So Roberta, thank you for chiming in. You mentioned champagne glasses from your wedding. That's a good one. So Roberta gets the first giveaway. Thank you, Roberta. If you want to share more, are you still hanging on to those champagne glasses, or do we need to help you release them today? I'm willing to do some clutter intervention if anyone is up for it. So things from weddings, boy, those are really difficult. I just got married, and so many memories are already, very rich with me, and I will not be getting divorced. Rachel's watching, but I have gotten divorced, and it's such a difficult. So difficult. In fact, it's funny that you share that, Roberta, because I share a personal story in my book about wine glasses, crystal glasses that I didn't even know I still had from a marriage in 2001. That's That's a really good example. Okay. So Roberta, just private message me your mailing address, okay? And I will send you out a book, all right? So just send that in a private message. All right. Oh, great, Roberta. Congratulations on moving forward. Okay, so for the second book giveaway, okay, I'm going to give away a distant feng shui consultation, okay? And so the criteria for this, or the contest for this, so I know a bunch of you have already pre-ordered my book, and a bunch of you have actually already read the book, or at least quite a bit through it. And I so appreciate you guys pre-ordering it and getting the energy behind it going. Speaking of, I might just check the Amazon stats right now. So the first person who writes a review on Amazon, to do that, you would have already purchased the book. All right. And Sarah Seidelman wrote a review earlier. She was the first one this morning. She already has a copy, at least a PDF, because she was so gracious in writing a blurb, an endorsement for the book. And so thank you, Sarah. I want to give her a shout out on her book, Swimming with Elephants. It just released about a month ago. It's her story of going from a Western medical doctor to shamanic work. So thank you, Sarah, for writing the review. Thank you for she was on my podcast. And so shout out to Sarah. So Sarah was the first person who wrote, but so the second person who writes a review on Amazon gets a free distant consultation. Okay, so all right. If anyone has questions, any just general clutter questions at all, or any questions, feel free to write those in the comments. Okay. And I would love to see what you guys are, if there's items you're struggling with, or process around decluttering that you're struggling with, just let me know and we can talk about it. All right. So, and if anyone needs a clutter intervention around a particular item, we can do that too. So a lot of people ask, how clutter relates to feng shui. I have most of my practice has been around feng shui, and I teach feng shui in workshops and in certification course. And so the way I see clutter relating to feng shui, because clutter oftentimes, or when people talk about feng shui, a lot of times they throw in clutter, and I do too. And the reason is decluttering is the first step to feng shui. Okay, you could have the most perfect floor plan, the best furniture arrangement, but clutter will block the energy, and feng shui is all about the energy flowing in your home, and clutter is the biggest block to feng shui, to good feng shui. And so I always talk about decluttering as the first step, and sometimes it's the only step. It can be the last step that's needed, because sometimes we just need to move things out of the way to get the energy flowing. And so, as I mentioned before, decluttering is what I've seen to be the most powerful work you can do, definitely in your home, sometimes even in your life. I have seen so many clients who have done so much work, so much self-help work, and they just clean out their closet and things suddenly shift in big ways. And so sometimes perhaps it's the last cord that needs to be cut. because our physical world is the most dense. And so this is why decluttering is so powerful, because you're shifting energy into three-dimensional. A lot of the healing modalities, we're shifting in energy mentally and more of the fourth dimension, which is very important and effective too. But as long as these clunky representations of that mental energy are hanging around in your space, it's not completely clear. Everything in our mental and emotional body is somewhere in your home. It's evidenced somewhere in your home. And a lot of times this is my work with clients, is being a detective of where are these blocks. And I talk a lot in my book about closet spaces. A lot of times our closets is where we hide our blocks, our saboteurs. It really is our shadow sides. When we put things literally in the dark, we put them away out of sight because we don't want to deal with them. This is very much of our unconscious MO, so to speak. So a lot of times our closet spaces can be a real source of healing and transformation. So let's see. Thank you, Liz. Liz is waiting for your pre-order to arrive. Yay, in the UK. Thank you. All right, let me give away another book. So let's do the same. I'll do the same one that Roberta won. If you want to, the first person who shares, or the next person that shares what they have struggled with getting rid of. All right, so what have you struggled with in getting rid of? All right, you will win the next book. All right, let me see if the first commenter has commented to win. Okay, so the free consultation is still up for grabs. Okay, so the first person who does an Amazon review, that would mean you were a pre-orderer and have read the book. If you do a comment, the first person who does a comment, then you get a free distant feng shui consultation. All right. Okay, so Liz says a commission painting. That's a good one. So Liz wins the second book. Thank you for participating, Liz. So just private message me with your address, okay? And I'll get a book out to you, so you'll have a second one to give away. These books make great gifts because they're a great way to give someone a hint that they might need to do a little work. So a commission painting, that is really tough. The gifts are really difficult, particularly something that's so curated and personal. I'm curious as to whether you still have it, and or if you don't, what kind of helped you make that decision. So I'll talk a little bit about my history with clutter. Part of the reason I wrote this book too is because, I never really considered myself a clutter bug. I grew up in a very neat and organized home, and this was what really struck me big time, is after my mom passed and began to look at her stuff, because my mom is extremely organized, and yet I began to see just how much clutter she really had. And so there's a misconception in the world that if you're organized, then you don't have clutter, and that's just not true. You can have very organized clutter, okay? You can have labeled clutter. You can have color-coded clutter. And so this was a big reason I wrote this book, to really break the stereotypes around, or misconceptions around clutter. And this book isn't necessarily for people who have, definitely not hoarding situations, or don't have to have a lot of stuff to have clutter. It's really anything that's keeping you stuck in the past and not letting you move forward in your life and the life you want to be living. Okay, so I love things, and so this is not a book about being a minimalist. It's about a book of enjoying really the things you do love, okay? Whether they're tangible items or time to do things in your life. When we declutter, it's on all levels. It's decluttering our calendar, decluttering the people in our lives that take our energy instead of give energy. It's really decluttering on all levels. And when you start to do this in your home, you will see the ripple effects of this in all areas of your life. And so you can also use decluttering. It's a huge healing modality. It's majorly shifting energy. It's the same as doing energy work, going to an energy worker and shifting energy. You can do this in your home. And this was when I really started out with my Feng Shui practice. This has been a big mission of mine, to really communicate to people that the home is part of the holistic conversation. You can go and get amazing energy or body treatments, body work, therapy, whatever, and then when you come home, all your patterns are still there, okay? And so you've kind of just undone all the good work that you've done. All your patterns are in your house. Our house is just the second body outside of our own body that contains all of our thoughts, emotions, patterns. And so when you start to shift these items, it's what finally shifts the patterns that in your mental emotional patterns. So it's big work. It's a great way to release things from the past and that might be needed for grieving. I have a whole chapter on grief, and whether it's grieving people who are still alive or people who have passed along. So grieving is grieving, or grief is grief, either way. So I, like I said, have never really been or consider myself a big clutter bug, and yet it has made such a huge impact on me. When I moved, and my first big purge was in 2006, when I was downsizing, and I that was when I really had to declutter a lot of past items from past relationships, everything from furniture to cards to everything. And I moved into this new house on a pretty clean slate, and that day is when I entered into a new relationship. And I kept seeing that when I go through these big purges, major life transitions happen. And my bigger one was I moved to LA, and I sold everything that I owned except for what fit in my car, and took off to the West Coast. And so that was in 2013, so that's been 4 years ago. I've accumulated enough for a moving truck, but it was really nice to be so conscious about what you're bringing back into your life, and everything that I purchased was really special to me. And so that, in my opinion, is how we should always be, whether you're starting over from scratch or have a house full of stuff. And so paring down things that are not quite as that tug at your heartstrings or that are very useful. Function is very important too. So okay, so let's see what Liz says. She says she still has the painting. It's of a man and a woman embraced from when I was single. The symbolism worked from a Feng Shui perspective. So it has energy around being single. So that, so that's interesting. I didn't need a little more of the story, but it sounds like it might be time to go because it relates to a time of your life that's not really relevant anymore. That is a good Feng Shui symbol, though, a man and a woman embracing, as opposed to a single woman. A lot of single women have pictures of single women in their home, and they will remain single if that's the case. So it is actually a good feng shui painting to have for couples. But if it reminds you of a time that you were when you were single, then your own association with it is going to trump the actual symbolism in that case. Okay, so how are we doing? Any questions? Any questions about clutter or feng shui? Any that any of you have? All right, So obviously, order my book. It's definitely on Amazon. Today it's its official release. It will be at bookstores around the country as well, of course. And today it's its big launch. So if you're thinking about buying a copy or buying copies for your friends, today will be the great day to do that. And by the way, thank you to Sharon. Wow, this quote, her endorsement shows up on the cover of my book. And so let me give a little shout out to Sharon Weil. She is author of Changeability. See, I'm not just promoting my book today, but other people's books. She is so gracious to do a pre-read of the book, and so thank you, Sharon, for being on the cover. All right, so while I'm taking a little commercial break, I'll also plug my online course that's coming up. So if any of you want to become a feng shui consultants, now's your chance. It starts Monday. The next course starts Monday. All right, so that will go on for about 10 or 11 weeks. And if you'd rather do it in person, I also have an in-person one coming up in LA at the end of April. So check those out if you're interested in becoming a certified feng shui consultant, okay? All right. So Rachel, she's trying to win a book, but I will give you one for free. She is decluttering her photos this weekend. So we'll see. If you need a free consultation, I will give you one. Oh, thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather. Thank you guys so much for, I know so many of you have pre-ordered the book and ordering it today and going to order more in the future. And I just really, really appreciate it. If I keep talking about how much I appreciate it, I will start tearing up. That's how much I appreciate it. So thank you. And any reviews for those who read it, even if they're like so-so reviews, like any kind of review that you can put on Amazon would be very appreciated. So thank you. Let me go through the book really quick and give you a little synopsis, a little teaser. So if I mentioned in the beginning of this this live video, kind of the theory or the theme behind it, and it's all about our identity, and that's really at the core of why we hold on to things we hold on to. Is we're holding on to these old identities that that the ego. It's really about the ego. The ego, you know, it still wants to be the old attorney. It still wants to be all these things, and but it prevents you from being 100% into where you are now, into the life you are now. And this is the magic of what happens. I was on a podcast interview yesterday with. And she was mentioning how she had old work papers from, it was even within the same career she's doing now, but an aspect she's no longer doing. And she still had all these papers and from conferences, of course, stashed away in the closet where she couldn't see it. And once she got rid of it, her current work really expanded. And that's really where the payoff is with this stuff. You can really step into 100% of your life now. That's really the whole point, okay? So work is not, decluttering is not work for the sake of doing it, okay? There is a payoff, and it's energy, it's fresh life force energy that will come in, whether it's for a relationship, for a new job, for your current job. I know when I have the story of my last business lawsuit that I got rid of, and that week I took it to the Goodwill. My practice, I had like so many new clients that next week. It was unbelievable. So let go of these old identities that no longer are serving you, okay? And so chapter 2 talks about identity and identity crisis, how the ego works, and how shedding the ego is so much a part of this. Let me look at, we have some questions. All right. So Diana asked, does Feng Shui work to help a business grow? So right on point, Diana, absolutely. You can, decluttering your office space, whether it's in your home or outside your home, will do wonders for your work. Absolutely. It all works on an energetic level of allowing new space, new energy to come into your life. And so with it will come in the way in which it goes out. So if it's work related items, then new work things will come in. And, if you were actually in a job that you don't want to be in, one of the best ways to transition out of it is to declutter, and is to not just declutter, but embrace your workspace. And actually, the paradox is to enjoy being in that space. That's actually what will get you on to the next one. So just FYI, if anyone's looking to get out of a job, it's the same principles it's kind of like selling a house. Sometimes people fall in love with their house when they start to sell it because they get it back up into where they enjoy living there so much because they've gotten it ready to sell, that they end up falling back in love with it. And that's actually the key to selling a home. So it's the key to selling a home. It's the key to getting a new job. It's also, if you're single and wanting a relationship, nothing attracts people more to you than loving your life. So this applies on all levels. So chapter 3 is all about relationships. It's past relationships stuck on you and how to release things from past relationships, photos, gifts received during the marriage, furniture. It's so hard to weigh the practicalities of keeping things versus the emotional weight, and that's a hard thing to do. And but I hopefully give you some direction on that. And then chapter 4 is I am what I did, past careers and jobs. And so all about our identities wrapped around old identities or old jobs, and everything from office supplies to awards that you won during that job are all part of it. Sometimes we actually get stuck. We don't just get stuck in from bad things. Actually, the good times in our life, it also sometimes can anchor us into the past and leave us to believe that the best days are over. Okay, and so this is one thing I've struggled with as a nostalgic Cancer sign is always seeing the past is like better than it was, like glorifying the past, and so that can also get you can keep you in the past. Okay, so in chapter 5, I have the glory days, past accomplishments, associations, and stories. We can really get caught up in our stories, and so if you want to, one of the great ways to change your life is to change your story and change our past. And everything up here is somewhere in your home, and so you can find it in your home. We get attached to past cities. We get attached to associations, for example, being a mom of small children. Obviously, if you're a mother, you're always a mother, but the attachment to being a mother of small children. High school or college personas, these identities that we had back in the day that are no longer serving us. Perhaps you were known as the uncatchable catch back in your college days, and maybe now you want to settle down and be in a relationship, and so letting those old identities go. And the way those show up in our items, it could be clothing that it could be a pair of jeans that you had in college that you looked really good in, and you don't know why you still have them. Well, that could be why. Okay. And then chapter 6 is what could have been. So really healing unresolved grief and unhealed wounds. Clutter can be a great way to move through grief. And also how to deal with the items from loved ones who've passed on. I talk about collections. If you have a collection or know someone with collections. And also how clutter differs between men and women. That's a topic that comes up quite a bit. And then in chapter 7, I have too much of a good thing, overcompensation of a current identity. Sometimes we have too much stuff that we're actually using that's not from the past, but is from our present life. For example, papers, bath products, clothing. And so I talk about for each of these categories of what really is going on. Why do we keep too much of these particular things? And then I have a whole chapter on common cover excuses to keep or not to keep. So it's funny, in pretty much every clutter book you'll read about the just in case excuse. To where just in case has become this figure, this guy called Justin, and so it's a very common excuse. So I talk about that, but kind of break it down even into a deeper psychological component. Gifts, it's a huge challenge with gifts that are unwanted. I'll get it fixed. That's always a fun go-to one. I'll keep it for my kids. That's a good one. I don't want it to end up in a landfill. The ego can be really creative in its excuses it comes up with, but almost always they're just excuses for really holding on to a past identity. So, and then I talk about digital clutter, call it the next clutter crisis, and then the last chapter is a really roll up your sleeves, step by step. Practical, and so the whole point of the book is when you know the why of why you're holding on to things, the how is easy. It's very similar to losing weight. We all know how to lose weight. We eat healthy and exercise, but why we don't do that is a deeper psychological question. And so decluttering is very similar in that regard. Okay, hi Nellie, thank you for joining. Yay. Okay, Heather has a question. Heather is an artist, and she has a lot of finished or processed paintings that need to store until I find a buyer to place or display them. Do you have tips on how I should store them and where might be good to store them in your home? So it sounds like this is more of an organization question than decluttering, because it sounds like these are paintings that you'll be keeping because they have use. I think that's correct, right? So when it's items that it's not clutter, then where we keep them is more of a practical question. Okay, keeping or wanting to sell them. So it sounds like it's like the question is whether it has a practical application or not, and for other people for sale, and well, I'm not sure how to answer that. You know, I know a lot of artists struggle with what to do with like pieces that they're not gonna be using, but it's part of their story of their evolution as an artist, and that can be difficult to know what to do with these old pieces of work. And you can take pictures of them if it's taking up too much space. A lot of times, the amount of square footage we have to work with will dictate, you know, our need to declutter. We obviously can only fill so much into a shoebox, and depends on how big your shoebox is that you're living in. And so, you know, when something hits its capacity, then it's, you know, forces us to declutter. This happens a lot with artists and their, whether it's their supplies or their works of art. And so, taking photos of things to chronicle your progress can be really helpful. I know that I had tons of design projects, and when I was in design school, and that I spent so much time on, and it was very difficult to know what to do with those. They were taking up a lot of space, and so I did take pictures of them and kept in like a little portfolio, and that seemed to work really nice. So that might, Heather, that might be what's going on. Maybe there's some old artwork that you're not going to be selling, that maybe that's what needs to be decluttered, so that the potential for sell work can be stored in those areas. So maybe there's a shift that needs to take place of getting rid of some that aren't going to be used, and storing the ones that have more potential for that. So that might be your best bet. Hi, Julie. Good to see you. She says, when looking to declutter, is there a better room to start with? So, great question. Thank you, Julie. So I would start with the easy areas first, okay? Whether it's a room or a drawer, or don't just like feel like you have to tackle the basement. Start with something easy. You want to get the ball rolling. Okay, get the ball rolling, some fresh energy going to where you can then start to work with the more emotionally grabbing, triggering items. Okay, so it really is a case by case basis. You know, closets, your clothing closet's always a good place to start. You know, accessories, again, start with stuff that's easy. And if you start to run up against an item that starts to distract you, by distract I mean want to stop decluttering, then that's probably a sign that it's bringing up some emotion. Okay, and you can either put it off and keep going with your decluttering process, and come back to it later, but try not to let it stall your progress. Okay. Hi, Gail. Gail says, as I'm watching this, I'm tossing old design awards certification. Nice. Old project notes. Perfect. Nice. Okay, I have a third book to give away. So I'll do the same criteria as I've been doing. So the next person who mentions what they've struggled with getting rid of, whether you've gotten rid of it or not. Actually, let's do someone who's currently struggling with an item, and they need help. All right. So first person or the next person who posts a comment about an item that they need a clutter intervention with. All right. Let me see if the distant consultation has been given away yet. let's look at the book cover while I do a little Amazon searching. All right, for some reason I can't bring it up right now. But that reminds me, if you bought the book, go to my website, okay, and you can take the 9-day Clutter Intervention course for free. All right, let me show you where that is. So go to my website, tishamorris.com. If you scroll down, you'll see step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1, buy the book. And step 2, if you can go here and if you've already purchased the book, then you can click here and enter your email and the purchase code, and you can take the 9-day Clutter Intervention program for free, okay? But wait till you're ready to actually do it, because it will start immediately, and you'll start getting emails so if you're not ready for it, it might be annoying to get emails about cleaning out your closet and so forth. That is for free for those who purchased the book. I also have a Clutter Intervention Facebook group, okay? So that link is on my website as well. So feel free to join that, and we'll be having ongoing discussions and community around decluttering. So that link is right there, where you can just search it in the Facebook feed. Okay, Christine and Renee both chimed in at the same time, so I might have to give you both a book. Christine says her children's artwork, and Renee says teaching items from years ago. So both of you win a book. Private message me your address, and I'll get one sent out to you, okay? So thank you guys for that. So yeah, children's artwork. I have a whole section on that in the book. And yeah, that's really tough. You know, one of the suggestions I have is kind of prescribing a size of container, whether it's a shoebox, a Rubbermaid box, a closet, a whole room, of what you want to keep from your childhood, from your children's memorabilia, and kind of keeping it in a designated size that you feel is reasonable for you. Okay, so that's kind of been a tip that's really worked for folks. Renee, how about the teaching items from years ago? I assume that's obviously not something you're doing now. So I would really think about what it was about the teaching that you're still kind of haven't let go of. I'm not sure if you're still a teacher and just doing a different kind of teaching, or are doing a different line of work, but there's probably something there that you're still hanging on to. Okay. All right, so I'm going to wrap up, guys. So thank you so much for those who've been live and those who are going to watch it later. Thank you for those who played along with the giveaways. And I'll be looking for the Amazon review to see who wins that distant consultation. And if I don't have your email, then or I guess you're on Facebook, we can connect that way so that we can make that happen. All right. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate all the support from everyone. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Goodbye, Roberta.